On everyone, and welcome to another episode of the 713 Houston Sports. I am your host, Ruben Calavillo. I am joined by a brand new Houston Texans channel. Shout out to my guy, Brown Chubby Bear VT. Shout out to my guy at Leo is Forgiven. Real quick, VT, what is the name of your channel and what do you guys plan to do?
So yeah, thanks for the opportunity here. Our channel name is Texans 22. We're obviously on YouTube, so subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's at Houston Texans 22. The name of the channel is Texans 22, and what we do is we recap games on Sunday at 5 p.m. Central. We have a weekly podcast as well on Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Central. In addition to that, Leo was doing a podcast called The Run Game with his friend Josh, and that now is with Texans 22 as well. So there's already an episode about Will Anderson, currently editing one of their other episodes about Nico Collins. So that'll be out tomorrow. So look for that. So there's a lot of content coming. Some of them live streams, some of them videos. It's just a lot of good Texans content.
So. Yeah. 100%, man. We're all excited to see what you guys do. All good luck to you. Leo, I start with you. Houston Texans, big win against the Denver Broncos. They were on a 5-game winning streak. Defense was not allowing more than 23 points a game. Houston Texans win 22-17. What are your thoughts on the Texans' victory?
I mean, it was a great team win. I wish that we could have been able to have, more success offensively in the second half, particular. We kind of went a little bit, stale, just for whatever reason, doesn't really matter. We need to score more points in the second half. But I mean, what a great, defensive performance from, all of our guys, particularly our young players, man, with Stingley, coming across the field with one of the craziest picks I have ever seen. You know what I mean? And on any team, let alone my own team. And Will Anderson, having a stat game, you know what I mean? And really damn near could have had 4 sacks, but it is what it is. Like, great game by them, that's all I can say. Great defensive performance, and we did enough on offense to win.
Yeah, then you too, VT, your thoughts on the Houston Texans victory against the Denver Broncos.
I think in the first half we did pretty good on offense, but in the second half they kind of tried to figure us out, and we didn't really have a lot of answers there. Now we did have some drops with Noah Brown. Obviously, that was a great pass, but Noah Brown just dropped it. Brevin Jordan, had a drop pass. CJ overthrew Mechie. That could have been a miscommunication. So, you don't have that many opportunities when you have wide open receivers. And there was basically 5 opportunities, and we missed on them. And so that's something that you can't do down the road in the stretch, especially as we continue to go to this playoff push. So that's the issues on offense. In the run game, they're really force feeding Pierce. It's really kind of frustrating at this point. I saw your video earlier that you did today as well. You seem to agree with me that put Devin Singletary as RB1, and I agree with that. He has been the more efficient back. Pierce has some vision issues. He also makes these weird mistakes where you can clearly see it's a play action call, and then he just holds the rock and runs with that, screwing up an entire down. And then, I'm a big fan of Bobby Slowick, don't get me wrong. But one of the things that I've noticed is that when you're running on first and second down, and then or even if you don't know, but it's a third and long, and it's not gonna be third and short, you should be planning to have more protection on those third downs, and whether it's 3rd and 10, 3rd and 13, or whatever it is, because what's happening is teams are blitzing on third down. They realize that CJ Stroud has great deep threat options, and he can sling the ball. And so they are blitzing, and you're not able to stop it with only 5 guys. So you got to put 6 or 7 up there. To me, that is something that Bobby Slowick has to start doing, because the last 2 games, both the Jags and the Broncos, we're getting eaten alive by the blitz there. And it's really not CJ's fault, because, they're coming really fast. And so you really can't do much more beyond just getting a hot route. And you can do that, but even if you do that, when they're coming up, when you have multiple guys coming on the left-hand side, you can't do all that much. So you got to set a better protection on third downs.
This is the first time I think all season where We don't talk about CJ Stroud during the Houston Texans victory. And that's not saying he did not have a good game, 274 yards to the air, a touchdown. But the big news, a huge blow to the offense. Leo, I'll start with you. Tank Dell out for the rest of the season, broken fibula. What is your take on that, man?
I mean, it's very frustrating because he's having such a phenomenal season, you know what I mean, and especially as a rookie, and to see him like grow in the offense, you know, to see like how they weren't really using him at first, and then with Noah Brown going down early in the year, and then him getting more reps, and showing more and more, and then progressing to where it is now. To see Bobby starting to open up and using, lighter personnel groupings, regardless of field position, and then to see it end on a play like that, you know what I'm saying? It was very frustrating. At first I definitely had a moment where I was definitely upset with Bobby for that, but I mean, at the end of the day, it was football, and he definitely was like searching for work, and it is what it is. It's unfortunate. You just gotta hope that honestly, he's our one of our best receivers. One of the better route runners in the whole league, and he's very valuable. So you want him to definitely keep that fire and that edge, and all of that stuff that makes him a legit weapon, what I mean, potential like superstar in this league. But you just gotta rein it in, because that just wasn't the smartest thing, what I mean.
And VTL, great segue by Leo. There was a lot of talk and criticism about that play, right? Why is Tank Dell even out there blocking? We heard DJ Bieniemy from ESPN go on a whole rant and say, just say that you wanted someone other than Tank Dell to get hurt. I myself believe that it is just football. You always have the threat of checking into a run if you like it, and Harley, he brought it up yesterday. So he said, if you cannot trust Tank Dell on running plays, then is it all running plays going forward? Is that how he's going for, the rest of his career, where he just is not going to be there on running plays because you're scared for him to get hurt, right? That's kind of, a downside, but a lot of criticism. I don't get it. It's football. It happens. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I have to agree with DJ Bieniemy here. I mean, I don't care if he's 165 pounds or 365 pounds. It was an ankle. That's not going to really change depending on the size of your wide receiver. So anyone trying to blame this on Bobby is really just misplacing their frustration, because no one wanted to see Tank Dell get hurt. He was on his way to potentially getting 1,200 yards this season. And so he was a phenomenal threat. CJ during the press conference was about to cry, honestly, and I mean, they have a bond, which I freaking love that they have that bond. But they've got a bond, and no one wanted to see this happen to Tank Dell. But you can't blame Bobby. The thing is that no one complained, that because he's done this before. Yeah. No one ever complained about it. They only complained about it because he got hurt, right? So, that's how you know that this was simply, it's you could call it a freak accident. Some people actually think, and I don't think this, but some people look at that video and think it was done maliciously. I'm not going to go that far and say that it was done maliciously, but that's how far. This is like the JFK assassination. You're going to dig deep into it and try to find out the real reason why it happened. When in reality, it's football. Injuries happen. Tank Dell's moving forward. He put a really good proverb out on Twitter saying that he's moving forward. Let's move forward. It was an injury. Football happens. We move.
Mm-hmm. Another thing that happened that some people have kind of, grossed over because of the Tank Dell injury, CJ Stroud standing on business. And when I see that, I mean, it got me excited. It got me wanting to go play football again. I'm not going to lie to you, because when was the last time you saw a Houston Texans quarterback do that? It was not going to be Davis Mills. And if it was Deshaun, I promise you, he just would have pointed at him and laughed instead of sticking up for himself and trying to go back at him. I absolutely love this from CJ Stroud. He's embodying the city of Houston. I also love that he called out the refs, saying I do not get any calls when I am getting banged up. Leo, I start with you. What are your thoughts on our rookie quarterback really showing some heart out there and, almost getting into a little scuffle?
I mean, man, it's been very special for me, to really see him kind of just become, just I guess like I mean, really become a man before us, because obviously in college, man, like he obviously always was a grown man, all that shit, but like there was a certain level of like personality that we did not see that we are seeing now. You know what I mean? Or that like we're more privileged to seeing just because of how the media works. And he also is letting I mean, for lack of better word, he's letting his nuts hang. You know what I mean? So I think, I'm happy to see it. You know what I mean? Pause. That's but y'all pause.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but yeah, man, I'm happy to see him, with this much swagger. I'm happy to see him being the kind of leader that he is, man. I mean, when you draft a quarterback number 2 overall, number 1 overall, that's exactly what you want. He's exactly what you want.
VT, CJ Stroud standing up for himself, getting all in the face mask of Singleton from the Denver Broncos. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I loved it. I mean, I think Singleton was giving him problems all day long, football speaking. And then when he pushed him, when obviously the whistle was blown, that was just too much. I think that just hit him over the head, and then he was triggered. And I'm like, stand up for yourself. And he did. And what I loved even more is that most of the O-line came and actually was right there. And then everyone else was like, hey, don't touch our boy. I mean, I got to remind you of the Eagles game where Davis Mills was getting hit, body slammed, and no one even went out to help him. They're like, all right, whatever. I mean, I think that's what you have. You have the respect of the team. CJ has the respect of the team, and CJ respects the team. And there's just, the bond that you have that you're supposed to have with the team. We didn't have that for a while because I think that Davis Mills, lost the respect of the team. And we see that CJ Stroud has the respect of Houston fans, Texans fans, the team, the coaching staff, and that was on display during the game. And yeah, I loved it too. I was like, give them hell.
Moving on from this game, shout out to the Houston Texans for getting out with the dub. We don't talk about the Houston Texans right now. We talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars. A loss on Monday Night Football to the Cincinnati Bengals. Jake Browning goes absolutely stupid, completing 87% of his passes. Trevor Lawrence goes down with the ankle injury. Leo, I'll go to you on this. How do you feel about the Houston Texans' chances at maybe getting the AFC South?
Like we said, we was talking about it off air. Their schedule is kind of tough. They have a few tough games at the end, and when you think about not only the injury to Lawrence, but when you think about how their offense is run, how limited they really are. Like ATN is a very explosive back. He's not very powerful. They don't really have any kind of power in their offense to me. It's just more so like outside runs and very quick throws and stuff like that. So losing Kirk, a guy that was winning fast over the middle of the field from the slot, is a big issue, and it's gonna take other guys picking up the slack. Whether it's Evan Ingram, and ATN is gonna have to become a real threat in the passing game more so than he even has, because again, like if Lawrence isn't himself, or if he doesn't play, they don't have like a real diverse run game that they can fall back on. You know what I'm saying? So I think that it's an issue. Like maybe they move really more to the slot, but I mean, I think it's a really, really big blow, all the injuries as a whole. So I think it's very much it's very much doable. And then I think also another thing, not only just the Jags, I mean, you talk about the Colts I think they just had a guy get suspended for like 6 games. I think it was Zaire Franklin, I believe.
No, it wasn't Zaire Franklin. It was a D lineman, not a linebacker.
Or was it Ebicon?
It was a D lineman that hasn't played a single snap, but he was going to. So the dude was about to play though. Like he was literally going to have to step up because of another injury. I
Okay,
can't remember.
I thought it was someone that was actually playing. Well, that's on me. But I mean, like, it is what it is. Their schedule is super easy, but I mean, you never know. But I've been waiting on them to lose, and they haven't. I can't explain how the fuck they're winning games, but yeah, man, I think the Jags, bro, like they definitely kind of they're in a shaky spot right now.
And then VT to you, I have two questions. One, if you're the Jaguars, do you even throw out Trevor Lawrence in the next couple of games? They play Cleveland this week. They have Baltimore the week after. And then your thoughts on the Houston Texans maybe fighting for the AFC South.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the injury, I think it did look worse than it was, especially because of his reaction. But what I would have done is I would not play him this week. I think that the chances that he could exacerbate that injury and it could turn to something else are huge. And now your season's done, right? If he's done, if he can't play at all, their season is completely over. If you lose a game, you're still making the playoffs. So let's just say, for example, they don't think they can win this game without him. All right, you're going to lose one more game, but you're in the playoffs. If he's done for the season and you have to rely on CJ Beathard, and by the way, he's hurt too. So if you lose Trevor Lawrence and you lose CJ Beathard, now you're working with a third string quarterback. So I don't think that's proper, honestly, just management to play him this week. But the Browns are a difficult team, and Christian Kirk's a big injury, but think about this. Walker Little's banged up. He's playing, but he's banged up as well. Tyson Campbell, he's hurt. So they have injuries all over, honestly. And I think they have to start thinking about postseason time. If I was them, this is when you start playing management of who you're going to put out there. And I don't think you put out Trevor Lawrence this week, but I mean, I think they might because, they think that that's their best chance of winning this game. But I think that could screw them up, later on in the season. And particularly, here's the other thing. Trevor Lawrence, one of his big reasons that he's successful is using his legs to get the first down when coverage is great, right? And he already has a knee injury. And now if he has an ankle injury, and if he tries to press that, right? If he tries to run with that ankle injury, and now again, done for the season, what are you going to do? So if the smart money would really just tell Trevor Lawrence, sit out for a week. You're coming back in next week. Just give it a week of rest.
Yeah, I wondered if they're worried about the Houston Texans and the Indianapolis Colts because with the Colts schedule, I mean, the Texans schedule is just as easy. We're not playing a lot of good quarterbacks. And VT, I'll stick with you on this one. Moving along to this game against the New York Jets, it is announced that Zach Wilson will be the starting quarterback. We heard on Monday that he was reluctant to play and that the New York Jets were hoping he would come back, insinuating that he pulled himself out there. He does not want to play football. Then Robert Saleh comes in and says, hey, he just came into my office and said he wants to play. What are your thoughts on Zach Wilson playing against the Houston Texans on Sunday?
Listen, if I was Zach Wilson, I wouldn't want to play either. I mean, like, the way that they've treated him isn't really that great. And reality is that no matter what he does, it's going to be very difficult for him to win basically any game for the rest of the season. But he's going to be blamed for it, right? The defense is a top 3 passing defense, but their run defense is pretty poor. And you've had teams been able to run all over them. And at the end of the day, he might throw a pick and then he'll be blamed for that pick, even though there's been issues with drops, on the offense. There's been issues with the run defense. He's going to be blamed. Why? Because he's a quarterback. And right now he's thinking of the future and he's thinking, hey, am I going to be a Jet next year? What's the best thing I can do for my future? So I can understand why he was reluctant. That being said, let's talk about the Texans, which is all I care about. And the Texans, I think, will cream the Jets. Why? Well, it's not because the Jets offense is good, right? The Jets offense is disgusting. Worst third down conversion rate in the past 30 years. Literally 30 years. 1992 was the last time we've seen a team with this bad a third down conversion rate. So that's an issue. They've barely been able to put up double-digit points. What do they have? They have the third best passing defense. That's the thing that we are going to have to worry about because we have not been able to run the balls very well. So we're really going to have to rely more on the passing game, I believe. And that simply means that we are going to have to find ways to beat the secondary. And I'm not just talking about Sauce Gardner. They have Reed out there. They have Whitehead out there.
Tony Adams.
and they've all been balling out. So I think we have to use the short game. I think we have to throw screens. I think we have if we're going to use Damian Pierce, use him in space because he's actually been pretty good in space rather than just running the ball. So there are ways that we can move the ball where we don't have to sling it for 40 yards and risk an interception, and also stop running it with Pierce on every first and second down and just getting stuffed or moving the ball for 1 yard.
Yeah, no, I did a podcast with our boy Rami from New York. He does the Believe in Jets, and he says how you attack them is fast stuff. You go at them quick. You do not let this really good defense set up. Like you said, the secondary is one of the strengths. You also have Quinnen Williams, one of the best defensive tackles in football, going up against Michael Dieter and Juice Scruggs. That might be a problem. Leo, as I go to you, I'm going to just throw in a question. We've seen Robert Saleh take criticism for how he has handled the Zach Wilson situation. And then obviously, how do you feel about Zach Wilson playing against this Houston Texans team?
Well, I mean, our secondary is healthy, man. So, I mean, I feel good. I feel good any time I go into a game with Stingley, you know what I'm saying, and Nelson and Ward. So I feel confident in it. I think we'll be ready. I mean, I'm not really that worried about any of their receivers really just going crazy on us. I mean, the tight ends. I mean, they just don't really have that much on offense. There's not that much explosiveness. I guess they have Brees Hall, but Brees Hall has been not good this year. Really, he had one.
He might not play.
Oh, he might not. Oh, yeah. Well,
yeah.
I mean, I'm not really that worried about it. I mean, I think it's just gonna come down to us just stopping the run, and I think as long as we keep their offense out of schedule, I think we'll have a fairly easy time, on defense.
No, 100%. It shows back. That's what Frank Z asked. Did not practice today. Was limited yesterday. Let's get some score predictions in, ladies and gentlemen. As I go to, well, actually, before we get to the score predictions, if you are not a part of Texans Twitter, you got to make sure to follow all of us. There is a conversation today. VT, I'll start with you. Is Nico Collins a number one wide receiver?
Yeah, I mean, I think that he is a number one wide receiver. I mean, we've seen him get 191 yards when Tank Dell obviously was out and Noah Brown wasn't having his best day. 191 yards and a touchdown. I mean, how much better do you think a wide receiver should be? So I think he is. I think that he's a big body receiver. I understand that he necessarily doesn't necessarily get the separation all the time, but often enough, and he's fast. I think they clocked him at over 21 miles an hour this last time. He's also a yak artist. 43 to 44% of his yards are after the catch. This is a guy I never thought would be a yak monster, but definitely is. So, I think he has all of the tools there. And I know, Texans Twitter really asks, not only a number one receiver, is he top 10 receiver? And here's the thing, right? There's two ways to look at this. He's right now is number 10 in passing yards, right? Or in receiving yards, sorry. So is he a top 10 receiver? Well, by statistically, yes. Now, if you're going by the talent and so forth, there's other subjective methods. Sure, you could say he's not. But the fact of the matter is that he's number 10 in receiving yards. And I don't see any reason to shortchange that. Now, does that mean that you don't upgrade the position when you can? Absolutely not. There's no reason to say that you wouldn't. There's no reason to say you shouldn't upgrade the position, right? We're always trying to get better. You have him battle it out with whoever you draft, free agency, whatever it is. So just because you think that someone is a wide receiver one doesn't mean you're like, hey, don't upgrade the position. Always upgrade if you can.
Leo, I go with you. Do you think Nico Collins is a number one wide receiver? And when you look at these next 5 games, no Tank Dell. If he gets another, let's say, 150, 200 and something yards over his next 5 games, would you consider him a number one wide receiver?
Man, now that's the thing. Like, honestly, I'm a huge Nico supporter. I'm a big Nico supporter. But That is, we don't even need to go into that shit. But I mean, to me, like what a number one receiver is, like I have a really, really high bar for just that term in general. Like number one receivers are guys that like shift coverage, guys that require doubles and still maintain, their productiveness. And I mean, really, it's only like five of those guys in the NFL to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to me, I'm gonna just say, he's not on that level yet to where I can say that. Now you asked a very good question, and it's something that needs to be said. Is that like if he ends up finishing this season with like still like 1,300 yards, finishing that, like, which would be basically like 400 yards over the next 5-6 games, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Like that kind of, I mean that holds a lot of weight, especially with Tank Dell going down. Like to me, I mean you have to really have some real conversations about it. Where you would rank him. And I mean, man, to me, it's like V said, bro, the term, is he a wide receiver one? Is he a guy that you could base your whole passing game around? I mean, honestly, if that's what you mean by wide receiver one, I think you could do that. But see, here's the thing is like in this league, in the league today, you have every great offense has like 3 or 4 options, on top of like, not even talking about the run game, right? You look at all the great offenses that we talk about, I mean, the 49ers who we modeled after, you got, even their fullback is a passing threat. You got Kittle, you got Ayuk, you got Debo, and then McCaffrey. They have 5 options that on any given play can stab you, right? And you look at the Eagles. You got AJ Brown, Dallas Goedert, Devontae Smith, I mean, I'm forgetting DeAndre Swift, and then we not even talking about the RPO game, the run game. Every great offense has like 4 guys, and the same thing with the Bengals and so on and so forth. So is he enough to like just be like, what, just stick it, just throw him out there and just go and you'll be fine for 17 games? No, but I don't think that's necessarily like a put down. You know what I'm saying? And I just think it's so crazy when I see, people arguing over that shit. It's like, bro, like, I mean, what the fuck, bro? Like, why the fuck are we arguing this shit? I mean, like the thing is like, if you add another great receiver, my thought is that if you add another great receiver, it's not gonna do shit but fucking help Nico Collins. Because if that guy is categorized as being better than him, you're gonna put him on number 2 and number 3 corners. And I don't think that there's that many guys that can really, can really shut him down, especially like, I mean, how many teams in the NFL have 2 guys that are really great outside receivers? How many guys have 3 legit? How many teams have 3 legit corners? Like, to me, I don't think, it's just my bad. I could go on a rant about this shit all day, but I mean, he's proven that if he could stay healthy, he could be productive, bro. It's been like that since he's been in the league. Both the years prior to this one, he was on pace for 700, 800 yards, bro. Like, what are we talking about, man?
It's you bring up that everyone is just finding something to argue about, right? That's just because we're winning football. Last year, the last 2 years, you could complain about every single thing that was going on with this team. Now we are, complaining whether this guy is a wide receiver one or not. My expectations for Nico Collins, I said I think he can be a legit weapon for this team, but he needs to show us. And he has done that this year. Now, me personally, I think there's 2 types of number 1 wide receivers. I think there's 1A, 1B. The 1B, the guys who could crack 1,000 yards, Brandon Cooks, right? Kenny Galladay, Jarvis Landry, right? You could say, hey, yeah, that's the number 1 wide receiver. But then you have guys who are legit superstars in the NFL. That to me there's 2 types of number 1s. Right now, Nico Collins is 1B.
Right.
You don't get all these numbers and not get that type of consideration. Over these next 5 games, though, if you show to be a legit weapon, the reason why this ball is moving through the air, the reason why we win football games, we might have to have a conversation about Nico Collins being a legit true weapon. I was in that space today, and someone said last year people were blaming Nico Collins for for the reason why Davis Mills was bad. No, I do remember it being the quite opposite. People complain that Davis Mills was so bad we cannot get a full
And see,
evaluation of this
exactly.
freaking offense.
Yeah.
It's crazy how people's just narrative just changed just to fit. But
Oh,
this
right.
kid has answered every single question
Everything, bro.
that we have
Mhm.
put on him this season. Are you going to be a
Mhm.
weapon or not? And he's been a weapon. Like VT said, you don't just get 191 yards. 800 of them in the first quarter. The first thing I said when Tank Dell went down, what is Nico Collins going to do? He gave you
Yeah.
91 more yards. I
Right.
I was high when we drafted him. I was excited for him, just that's VT's college, so he loves him some Nico Collins, but dude, and he's also in his third year, guys. Third year.
Yeah, bro.
You also have,
Yeah.
who was his offensive coordinator last year? Pep Hamilton couldn't even get it going in the XFL. I think Nico Collins is going to be just fine as he gets more season. This is going to be a good
Right.
wide receiver. What do you think about
Yeah.
that, VT?
And another,
Yeah,
my bad, bro.
I'd like to have one more thing to add because I know the conversation is your wide receiver one, but I think D'Amico kind of answered this as well. But let me bring up a point of the Vikings. They have Justin Jefferson, and they went and got Jordan Addison. Now, obviously, right now Justin Jefferson is at wide receiver one, but you got to think that at some point there could be a transition, and at that point, do you really even care about who's wide receiver one and wide receiver two?
No.
Because I mean, D'Amico said, "Hey, he doesn't care about it, and why doesn't he care about it? Because depends on the play, who you're playing against, what cornerbacks you could have. You could have a slot receiver being that receiver for that game because of the matchup, and I think the matchup for that game is going to make a receiver be the top receiver for that game or not, and I think that's what you want. You don't want to have
Mhm.
just one weapon. You want to have, as
Yeah.
Leo said, as many weapons as possible because you can't beat them all. No team is going to have 5 ways to stop 5 different weapons, right? They're going to have to choose 1, 2, possibly 3. They can't stop 5. So that is what you want. We have Tank Dell. We have Nico Collins. Noah Brown, I know he's been on hasn't been very healthy, but we've seen him have back-to-back 100-yard games, 172 yards, 150 yards. We have legit weapons on this squad, and obviously we're going to add more in the offseason. We're in such a good place. I think having the conversation whether he's a wide receiver one or not is honestly just ridiculous. What we do know is that he's a damn good receiver, and he helps us win games, and he puts up and he helps move the ball. When you have a game where you're not just having almost 200 yards, but 7 first downs, you are moving the chains, and that's what you need in a receiver.
It reminds me. My bad,
No, no, no,
Ruben. I gotta
no.
go.
I was gonna say, go ahead and respond, Leo.
Bro, like I gotta go back in on this shit. It reminds me of like motherfuckers calling Mike Thomas fucking. I'm not saying Nico Collins is Mike Thomas at all, but it reminds me of motherfuckers calling him Slant Boy. When if you took out, I remember looking at this shit. If they took out all the receptions and the yardage that yardage that he would have got from the slants, he still would have led the NFL in receiving that year. And I just feel like Nico Collins is like he's not like this. He's not like he's not like the most aesthetically pleasing type of receiver. Like he's not like watching Antonio Brown. It's not like watching like a Jerry Jeudy run routes. It's not like watching. It's like literally watching a fucking bully, a guy that just goes out there, he wins position, and Stroud hits him in stride. And that's kind of he's a bigger receiver. I mean, it's not like he's just a very physical receiver. And then after the catch, he's very, very tough to tackle. Every corner that he's facing is pretty much smaller than him. It's almost like tackling a tight end. And then secondly, bro, another thing that people just don't talk about this shit at all. They don't give him any kind of context at all. Like, bro, Nico sat out COVID year, came to the combine like 20 pounds lighter than his playing weight at Michigan. You know what I'm saying? Tests very, very well. You know what I'm saying? Pulls his hamstring, or whatever, or groin his first year. You know what I mean? Comes back in the offseason, works on his game, comes back in the offseason, I think transformed his body again, like lost 7 more pounds. You know what I'm saying? Pulls his hamstring again. So you have a guy that sat out for a year, comes, transforms his body, plays at a whole new weight that he's never played out for, played at, and on top of the time, you know what I'm saying? And gets hurt. Then the next year, same thing. He hasn't had a traumatic injury.
Mm-hmm.
Like he hasn't blown his knee out. He hasn't had like like a super crazy leg injury. So it's like what we're seeing is a guy that's like kind of like this was his first offseason coming back the same weight that he started, the last year off at. You know what I'm saying? So what you're seeing is a guy that's like kind of finally found a good weight to play at, finally, coming into his grown man strength in his body. And I think that it's like, I mean, the funny thing is that this really might not be the best version of Nico Collins that we even see yet. So it's like, he's young, bro. It's like, why are we trying to make put guys in boxes before their rookie deal ain't even over yet, bro?
It's just they got nothing to complain about anymore, man. It was just that bad a couple of 2 years ago. We're gonna get some score prediction in. VT, I start with you. Final score prediction, and how do you think the Houston Texans win this game?
I think it's going to be somewhat lower scoring than a lot of people think. I think I would say it's really going to be like 17-6. And the reason I say that, which may be on the low end, but the reason I'm saying that is because, again, their passing defense is phenomenal. And so that is something that we are going to have to contend with. One of the issues that the Houston Texans had is really just finishing a drive. We would get field goals a lot, but we weren't able to score touchdowns. We moved the ball successfully. We're getting 200, almost 300 yards per game in the air, but we're not able to punch that into the end zone. A lot of that is because we don't have a successful run game. So we can't use a run game in order to get the ball in the end zone. And then obviously now we don't have Jaime Fairbairn. We have Matt Amendola, who did a great job for us last week, 3 out of 3 field goals, but he's inconsistent. So we could end up missing a couple field goals there. So I'm going to say that we have a couple touchdowns. We get a field goal in, but it's going to be, in my opinion, an ugly game. It also is going to rain. It's going to be cold and rainy as well. Let's not forget that. So, and then the reason why I say 6 points is because the Jets' offense is pathetic and our secondary is rocking. So, I mean, I don't think I would say that we don't even allow them to have a touchdown. They get 2 field goals, and that's about it.
VT, I love it. Leo, thoughts, score prediction. How do you think the Houston Texans play in this game?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of similar. I think that, I mean, out of respect, I'll say I give them 10. I think we win like 17-10, something like that. Like, I do think that it's important for us to get our run game going because of the rain. Like, I don't know, like, I'm not saying force anything, but I do think that, I hope that they find a way to scheme success in that regard. I think that another thing that people haven't talked about is their run defense I think it's gone down a little bit from last year. Their nose tackle, I forget his name. He hasn't been playing. I mean, he hasn't been defending the run that well. They kind of have to me, they kind of have, outside of Quentin Williams, they kind of have like as of right now, they're doing a better job rushing the passer as far as stopping the run. So I wouldn't be shocked if we're able to run the ball a little bit better against them. But yeah, I mean, I think just it comes down to me just winning the turnover margin. You know what I'm saying? I think that you want to. You don't. I think if we don't turn the ball over this game, I don't see a way that they beat us at all.
I 100% agree. Our boy Dre says New York must be miserable December. Our boy Jacob is going to be there on Sunday. He will be at the game. I'm going to go 21-9 Texans. I agree with BT. I don't think the Jets offense scores a touchdown. They've been that bad all year. They have 3 games without scoring a touchdown. And I think we are going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back. I think we are going to start seeing coaches fired after this game, especially when they see CJ Stroud just light it up against them. How they score the 21, I think it's just going to be an on the ground game. Hopefully we see more Devin Singletary than Damian Pierce. Let me see what else the comments saying, but nothing else, guys. Thank y'all so much for being a part of today's episode. Right before you go, VT, once again, let them know, and Leo as well, where they can find you guys and what do you guys have planned coming up next.
Yeah, so the new name is Texans 22. For those that want to subscribe and support the YouTube channel, it's only been a week, actually not even a week. Sunday will be a week, and we have over 330 subscribers.
Mm.
If you want to support us, go to my Twitter account, Brown Chubby Bear. Click on the YouTube link and click subscribe. We're not searchable yet because it's such a brand new channel. So if you type in Texans 22, you may not be able to find us just yet. So if you go on my Twitter and click on the bio, click that subscribe, support us. And Leah, why don't you tell the things you've been working with Josh and the stuff that you're doing with me?
Yeah, so yeah, Texans 22. Follow us. You see our our ads or whatever. How the fuck? I guess what do you call that shit?
At
Your handles.
Y'all know what the fuck it is. Y'all know. Yeah, the handles. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So follow us there. Shout out. Texans 22. I mean, it's the same shit as V. You know what I'm saying? Just, hit us up. We're not doing as many spaces no more because my mind can't handle the shit anymore. Listening to a lot of crazy ass fucking opinions. I just can't do it. We'll probably do one like every pregame and maybe like once a week or something. But yeah, man, make sure y'all follow us, man. Thank you, Ruben, for having us on.
Yeah, no worries, guys. And once again, you can find my YouTube 713 Houston Sportcast, almost 9,000 subscribers. I will be hosting the post game show on Bleacher Report on Monday. So make sure you guys tune into that as well. Thank you, Texans 22, for joining us, guys. You'll have a real blessed rest of Thursday night. New England beating the Pittsburgh Steelers. So we'll see how that